January 19th, 2021 session of the Port Authority Board to order. And if you would all stand to the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sal, if you'll take the roll, please.
Chairman Carl Roth.
Present.
Member Ron Cordova.
Here.
Member Chris Leeds.
Here.
Okay. All right, so what we have get started here is the approval of the minutes from the September 15th. The only thing that I noticed there, we had a motion at the end that had to do with updating council. And since this is the first meeting since that one, that was really before we had the council gone through the restoration effort. So I don't think that's relevant anymore, but I just wanted to confirm with you.
I agree.
Okay. So other than that, I'm good with the minutes. So, Ron?
Motion to approve the minutes is.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. And announcements, I had made an invite to new city manager, John Dude, and didn't know if he was going to be able, but thank you very much. And actually it works out well because with Mr. McClary and the city manager, we had some initiatives going on that this is a great opportunity to kind of get all in sync and see what we want to do going forward. So we thought from that standpoint it would be great. Also, at least from my standpoint, just to get it on the record, if nothing more, is that on October 20th, 2020, the council, Port Richey City Council, had a workshop associated with the Coastal and Estuary Restoration and Resiliency. So for everybody's information, also Mr. McClary and Mr. Sossaman attended a FDEP tools class that was given online. We may want to get a new city manager on board. That was on November 16th that we did that. And also Mr. McClary and myself attended the Pasco Coastal SWOT analysis, which is really Pasco County's initiative to try to do something around the coastal area that we've been talking about over the course of the year. So those are just a couple of things I wanted to get on the record, and I'll open it up to Ron. Anything from your standpoint?
No, I guess. Is there any way we can go or find out what was going on at the meetings? Was there any progress, or where do we stand?
Council meetings?
The ones on the two meetings that were attended by this
The
city.
SWAT meeting and the.
Oh, the
Yeah.
SWAT meeting?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, why don't we go ahead and Mr. McClary, would you like to give some insight on the SWAT meeting?
Sure. Todd Clary, 8731 Betty Street. The SWAT meeting itself was informative. It was more the Pasco County trying to get. Beat you to it. It was more Pasco County trying to get information from the residents. SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And basically it was more of a brainstorming session from their standpoint as to what the various residents felt were the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. With respect, can I take this off if that's okay?
It is.
To you.
With respect to our coastal region. And they actually were trying to get feedback, and they were holding multiple meetings throughout Pasco County, trying to get feedback from both coastal residents and inland residents to that extent. So it wasn't really a decision-making session by any means. It was more feedback from the residents. And they stated that they were going to take that information and try to assimilate it into an overall strategy from the commission committee's perspective. So it was actually good hearing all the different residents' feedback. I was hoping, and maybe it was only a little bit of my misunderstanding, get a little more feedback from the county perspective as to what direction they were taking or what kind of initiative they were leaning towards. Unfortunately, I had to leave a little bit before it ended, but I don't think they ever really
You didn't miss
went beyond, what they were going through. So it was more of a brainstorming session, seeing what the residents felt were the opportunities available to them. Really nothing more material came out of that other than I think, and I don't want to speak for everyone or what they gleaned from it, but everyone thought that the coastal region was, a very big strength of Pasco County. One of the, and they thought protecting it was very important to the well-being of the county and the future development. I think they probably, and I'm summarizing what was almost a 2.5-hour session at that point.
Right.
Obviously one of the major threats that came out of it was the overdevelopment of Pasco County or the poorly planned development of Pasco County. And that kind of bridged across numerous points such as, the reputation of Pasco County as being overdeveloped and that sort of thing. So really there was nothing coming from the county per se in this meeting. It was more of just getting feedback from overall residents.
Right.
Okay.
Don't go. So this was, as he had mentioned, the first one. The county is using this to go into their strategic plan. The strategic plan, at least what I've been communicated, is kind of going to be their driving instrument to initiate things like dredging or coastal improvements and those types of things. But in order to get the budgetary components lined up, they have to go through this process first. The other thing, just to add on, is that there were a number of people out of Hudson or Beacon Woods up that direction. So and there was also some folks out of Gulf Harbors.
Correct.
And a couple of things that they were emphasizing was the dredging priorities that they had for themselves there. So I thought that was a couple of interesting pieces. So the other part was our online conference from FDEP. So I didn't want you to go away first.
That was a meeting based on basically going over the tools that FDEP has available online currently and kind of walking everyone through so you can see at a high level what tools everyone here or however has available to them to review various aspects of their website portal. Unfortunately, it's been quite a while, so I don't have the details of the website portal in front of me, but the overall information that I gleaned from it is, one, the FDEP's website portal is very easy to use. You can almost jump on right now without any training. I think the overarching theme was you can't break it, so play with it.
Yeah.
And also there's a tremendous amount of information from an environmental perspective as far as historical goes and what is currently available, how we have ratings, what are the environmentally sensitive areas, what areas may be of, you can kind of glean a little bit what would be of interest to the FDEP in terms of saving or providing, some further action too. But there's numerous online tools that is available to anybody right now that we could probably, and I know we could, utilize for our grant writing or whatever the case may be. So there's quite ample information available to all.
Thanks, that's what I
Now I
wanted.
can sit down.
Since both of us attended, I wanted to make sure both of us had a chance. But they were given this to governmental entities primarily. They're allowing one elected official in and one layperson. I think the intention here is for the city manager and city departments to get involved. So what we can do is schedule a session when you get settled in, and if there's some other staff that you'd like to get on board. But essentially what it does, the tools that they have talk about sea level change and the implications on your community. And everything around coastal restoration and resiliency, these tools kind of form the foundation for you to develop your information on your community. And the city of Clearwater was the most recent in our immediate area that conducted and used this information. So it may be helpful to you to get familiar with what's going on. We have the contact information, and we certainly can arrange that at some point in time. So that's the basis on that. Okay. So any other just general information? That was the two main things that we're going to get into.
Since our last meeting and just in the last week, I've reached out to attempt to start a dialogue with USF. Should be on.
There you go.
With USF, with their Dean of College of Marine Sciences, and also with UF, it's the School of Forest Resources and Conservation, but they have a fishery and aquatic sciences area. So I've reached out to both of them. Hopefully by the next meeting we'll have something further to report on that.
Good, very good. One of the things, and we'll come to this back to this in a moment as we get into the coastal and estuary planning piece. What I really wanted to do was hit an update on the training that had got from the Coast Guard Auxiliary first, and then we can talk about what do we want to do on the Waterway Safety Initiative next. But I wanted to let you know what I had done. I had attended 2 classes from Coast Guard Auxiliary. They're only doing these remote right now, but this is the information that they shared. Our objective here originally was the question we asked is what type of safety information could we use with boaters in our area. So this was a sample of some of the stuff that they had. The 2 classes that I participated in one was I think it's a 1-session class that had to do what if you were suddenly thrown in command. So if your main captain is injured or incapacitated and your spouse or significant other was forced to do things, this is a couple-hour class to kind of get them up to speed. I thought it was pretty good. Frankly, I think the big thing about the class is that the instructor, the Coast Guard Auxiliary folks, they've got a lot of just general information that complements the class. And that seemed to be the big thing that I saw from those classes that really had a bigger impact. That local knowledge, some of that stuff brought forward, but also situations that occurred. And then the other series of classes, which was over 4 evenings, was getting your safe boating certificate. So I thought, okay, this will be really good. But I thought, I'll sit through it, see what's there, see what pieces are there. And it covers the breadth, just like you would expect. Navigation, safety, how to operate your boat, all of those fundamental things. It was pretty good. And I think there's pieces out of that you could, really take advantage of. But the class per se, I don't think we're going to get any boaters to sit in on something like that. The impression I had from the chief when he was here before is that the officers, there's some type of marine training that they go through, so they are probably knowledgeable about that. They probably have their own experiential knowledge that could be shared with a boater, and that's where I thought the biggest value was if something like this was to go forward. So I've kind of rethought a little bit as far as what do we want to do going forward on the safety piece after these classes. But I wanted to kind of, now that we've settled for a couple of months and we haven't done anything, I haven't got anything further feedback from City of Newport Richey. I have not reached out to the Sheriff's Department or the Florida Fish and Wildlife as the other entities. So I wanted to see from your perspectives, what do you think based on, what we know now, what do you think we should do or suggest on moving forward on the Waterway Safety Initiative?
I think we could still go forward with putting a sign at the ramp in Nick's Park that explains basically what a no-wake sign is, show the sign, explain what it means, and also say, this is all the way to marker whatever. Some kind of nice big sign right where they launch it,
Right.
that we can do with no problem at all. I mean, at least that's a start, because that is the biggest complaint, is people going too fast on the river.
Right.
So that we don't have to go through the Coast Guard, we don't have to go through any other entity, we just have to make it up ourselves and come
Right.
up with what we want to put on it
Mm-hmm.
in coordinates with the police department and whatever, and have it made and put it up there. And maybe then also put some kind of container that we can put some of these booklets in there if people want to pull them out for resource.
Gotcha.
So that would be my suggestion.
Chris?
Yeah, that, and then the, when we get to a point where we can have increased patrols on the water, that obviously, but I agree with Ron.
Okay. Well, in that the enforcement agencies, we did see the sheriff today rolling out, and traffic has been somewhat light the last few days since it's been cool.
Yeah.
The only thing, I'll just put it out there just for thought, is that I was thinking that maybe we, at one of these forums, we schedule a workshop with the law enforcement agencies. Invite Fish and Wildlife, invite Sheriff, Newport Richey, and Port Richey to come and participate in a workshop. And maybe there'll be a little bit of shame that, well, maybe these guys are going to show up and these guys aren't. Maybe I better show up because we haven't been able to get traction. So it was a thought as far as maybe something, depending on how far you wanted to go. But I'm good with doing the signage because I think that's certainly a void.
Well, I mean, I don't think doing both hurts.
Oh, you
Right,
think
so,
trying
yeah.
something like that?
Yeah.
I think we go ahead with the sign, and then
Yep.
also, yes, I think a workshop.
Shane is
Invite
good.
'em, and again, let's see if they are on board or if they're not on board. I know, as far as Newport Richey, you still, if you go on Facebook and look up the group there's people complaining all the time on Facebook
Right.
about, hey, there's a jet ski, there's a boat heading past marker, whatever, speeding, and then they have their old comments about what to
Yep.
do with the guy. And then they go into complaining about their sheriff department and how they're not doing anything. So
Right.
no matter which city it is, we both have the same problem. It's just, and the public are the ones that are complaining, so.
Right.
And to some extent, the public's trying to enforce it, right? Like you going out on your dock, or us saying, going past a boat, trying to get them to slow down. It's not
Right.
very effective.
Yeah.
Well, last night, as I mentioned to Ron before the meeting, we had 2 vessels going out at dusk. One was a center console single engine that was going out probably wide open throttle, so he's probably doing 35 or 40. And then about 20 minutes behind him, there was a jet ski blasting out, probably a little bit faster. So for your benefit, the boating traffic in 2020 has increased significantly on the river. So one of the things that we talked about is how to do something in the safety department. And the new boaters, inexperienced boaters, and then just boaters that flagrantly disregard everything has been incredibly more pronounced in 2020 than Ron's been on the river for a long time. We're all on the river, and it was really something in 2020. So that's the whole basis of that initiative. So,
And they generally know that law enforcement is not.
yeah, law enforcement does not participate.
Yeah.
So that's been a challenge. And we've really honed it in. One of our meetings, Ron stated it multiple times, but 3 to 6 p.m. on the weekend is about all you have to really do. Generally speaking, that's not when law enforcement's out.
Yeah. And again, if we could get Port Richey, Newport Richey to work together, and you alternate every other weekend, you're talking about 6 hours every other weekend for
Right.
your local marine department to be out on the water.
Right. Okay. So I'm good with that. What I can do is I will, I've got the contacts with the different agencies. I don't know if the Coast Guard will be able to play, but they're kind of, the feds are persona non grata on most everything that I've had interaction with, but I will reach out to the district as well and see what we can do as far as workshop, give you an update on the next round. And then I think the other thing, does one of you guys want to start taking a cut on signage? What should be in it, either content or what do you think we should put up there at the ramp?
Should that be up to our Marine Department?
Well,
I don't think there's anybody to do it.
Should we run it through them?
I would say let's put something together and then run it through, would be my suggestion.
We could have it for the workshop too and say, what do you guys think?
There?
Well, that would be a good time to bring it up at the workshop, because they might have their own ideas of what's on there, whatever.
Okay,
Yeah.
so marry those kind of together, you thinking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good with that. All right. Anything else around the waterway safety piece that you guys think we need to talk about tonight?
No.
Okay. All right, so the next item, number 4 on the agenda, was our coastal and estuary restoration and resiliency initiative. And we've kind of been sitting on the sideline until we had the new city manager on board. I think the thing that comes to mind for me is it probably would be good to walk you through this at a point in time when you're a little settled down, maybe in a week or so. I think during our workshop is when we did this. We allotted maybe 2 hours. I think we took about an hour and a half to kind of go through, but just to encapsulate what our efforts last year, we found something that we thought might be an effective way to help us move forward. Traditionally, for the last 15 years, the city has attempted to dredge the canals in the city. That really hasn't gone anywhere other than establishing a DMMA site and having that area dredged there. We spent a lot of money getting permits, but we really haven't been able to execute on them. So the question was put to us from the council on what can we do to go forward? What's the best way to go forward? So during the course of our investigation, we found that if we kind of redefined what we wanted to do or what the city may desire to do, it might be easier for us to make progress down this path. And one of the things, we had a presentation from some folks that were up in Crystal River that had a very interesting approach as far as really restoring the springs up there, restoring the environment where they had some algae growing in, cleaning that up, and actually it led to dredging as a part of the restoration, but it wasn't something they led with. And what that resulted in was they ended up getting approximately $17 to $20 million from the state and other entities to do that exercise. Certainly there's a lot of coordination, but from your standpoint, this initiative allows you to make contacts at the county and the state level to do something more significant if it's something of your willingness to take on. The council's behind it, but I think we have to get everybody in sync as far as doing this initiative. So there's things that tie into flood insurance, to really engage the community on a broader scale. One of the challenges that has been out there is that I don't live on the water. Why should I worry about dredging? So the approach that we've put together really is more all-encompassing, and really everybody benefits. It's not just because you have a home on the water that you benefit. So I don't want to belabor that tonight because it would take longer to do that. But I know in the records that you have the document, Mr. Sossaman has it, but I think it would be best for us to walk you through at a point in time and take you through and get up to speed on it.
Is-
Go ahead.
Wasn't there a website you could go on and view the presentation that the gentleman brought us?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, maybe
Sal-
that would help him.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have that, he could, at any time, just
Do you
watch
still
it.
have those 2 links, Sal?
Yeah.
If you don't, I mean,
Okay,
So
I've shared them with about 100 people now, so, yeah.
yeah.
all of these things go together because recognize that, I guess we worked on this pretty much from February through to August-ish timeframe, and came up with this. We shared it with the council at the workshop on the 20th of October, and basically their blessing to move forward on it. So now it's just been kind of a standby until we could get you on board so we could kind of reinitiate. But, so I guess, Ron, other thoughts, I mean, to kind of share with Mr. Dutt?
No, I think once you view the material and the presentation from the gentleman that was brought it for us, and you see what they did up in Crystal River with, I thought the city, Crystal River, only had like $500,000 into it.
Three.
Yeah, 300,000.
300,000, and they
Small.
got 17 million. And the results of what they got out of there and how it helped the whole community, the water quality, everything, it opened our eyes when we saw the presentation, and it put us in a different direction because we've kind of learned that dredging is a bad word when you just bring up dredging. When you put it into a whole package, restoration, water quality, having to do with floodwaters in your area, bringing down your rates on insurance and flood rates, and all these other things, everybody benefits, and there's more pockets of money available from all the environmental clubs that help pitch in too when you talk about water restoration and quality.
And
So-
the long-term end of that is if you're fixing some of the underlying problems with the waterway, with water flow, stormwater runoff, drainage, how water moves through in a flood situation, and the health of the waterway, you basically allow the waterways to defend themselves. And by having seagrass and all of that, you eliminate some of the need for dredging down the road, right? So you fix the problem now, and then you don't run into the same problem 5 years down the road that we had to raise a bunch of money to dredge, which only benefited a few people, and now we got to turn around and do it again because we're right back in the same place.
So the county, I guess, in the last couple of years, they just got some additional funding that they're planning on for significant stormwater improvements. And we're downstream from one of their bigger headaches, which is Magnolia Valley. That's not too far away, and that comes into Miller's Bayou and whatnot. So again, there's an opportunity for significant engagement with the entities around us because of the impact that they have. They're eager to do things, and we need things to be done to ultimately make things better for the long run in our community. So, okay, I guess, Todd, you got anything you want to add on that front? Todd was assigned as the council representative on this initiative with the three of us and the city manager. So I think it was the intention of the council to have that cadre as far as try to move this forward. The piece that we talked about earlier with the state, the DEP's Coastal Management Initiative, there's folks there on staff. We've got 2 years under the current administration. We can tie that in, develop relationships there. Other communities are behind on this, so we have the chance to get out ahead if we're so inclined. But they're eager for things to happen. And part of our whole rationale on this is that we're so small that we can probably move faster and get things done, and they could use us kind of as a role model for other communities that have bigger, grander, more costly, but we could maybe get the state to commit to getting us squared away as an initial run. So,
Mr. Chairman, if I might ask, do you know if FEMA was involved in the funding process or in the planning process with any flood mitigation money or CRS money?
well,
Or was this all,
FEMA, the flood maps were recently done in the last few years, so that had a big impact. But as far as we've had other folks come forward and share with us other funding that's available.
okay.
I think what has surprised us, not only like agencies like FEMA, but also Housing and Urban Development. I mean, things that we as lay people, I'll put me in that anyway,
Yeah.
I would not even anticipate funding being available for the types of thing we're envisioning, but it is. So, and the funding, as Ron had mentioned, is large for Crystal River, but that's not even touching the Fed level. And one of the things, we're unique in Pasco County in that we have the only estuary, Pithla-Chascoti, that comes out. We share the Anclote with Pinellas County, so we're in a unique situation here that nobody else has. And incorporating that into this vision, I think, is what would get the state engaged and maybe even at the Fed level. So there's a lot of hurdles to cross, so I don't know if I have a good answer for you, but
Okay.
Carl, we had provided the name and number of the gentleman who gave the presentation for Crystal River.
yes,
I gave that card to the city manager, the previous.
yes.
I don't have another one. I don't know if we can give that information to the city manager, because that gentleman basically came and did the presentation, and he basically gave the cards and said, just call me. I'll tell you everything about it, because he was the head of the project for Crystal River.
Was he a city employee, a county rep?
It's an
was
engineering, it was an engineering firm.
Engineering firm.
So one of the things that we had to be careful of is we were treating his presentation as an educational experience. And basically, he didn't want to preclude them from the opportunity, if there was work here, to participate. But as Ron mentioned, he's more than interested. He gave us brochures and stuff. And I'll make sure if Sal doesn't have the contact information, that we'll just do a summary from this meeting and get that contact information, as well as the contact information at DEP for the training on the tools. And just so you have a point of reference to get started on as far as where we're reaching out. Okay. Anything else from each other? I'm going to open up. Dave, you have anything at all?
It'll be better than that. Dave Mueller, 5439 Blue Point Drive. Hey, I appreciate you guys sitting up there and trying to ferret out all these little missing pieces. And I think this is a good point in time to, maybe we start with a clean slate and put on the list of everything we would like to try to accomplish, knowing that there's opportunities that Alan Rose has indicated, over $250 million worth of funds, and maybe try to, attack this from multiple areas. And I think you guys are all on top of it, and I appreciate the updates. I'm trying to get something rolling here, because whatever benefits, or the benefit of having the, seagrass restored in the bayou and cleaning up all the channels that flow into there, I mean, that's our piece of the equation.
Right.
But essentially, everybody's stuff flows downhill into our backyards, right? And potentially, and you guys captured it all, the fact that we have various organizations, various things that we can try to accomplish here. But I think you're on the right page, getting a master plan together. And potentially, even beyond that, if we can scope this thing right, there's no reason why we couldn't even do a bond issue and try to fund some of this on our own, but certainly, we ought to try to address that from all these other sources that are willing to provide funds, provided it's written in a certain way that meets all the criteria and objectives that they're trying to achieve. And I think we got enough gray matter between the group to address that in a way that it checks all the boxes and moves us forward. But essentially, I think everybody, and this is more or less a marketing effort that has to be done, is everybody benefits, even the people that aren't on the water, because this is all related to flow and what's coming out in the runoff and those kinds of things. But it's outside, in some cases, just like Maggie Valley, it sits outside of our jurisdiction. But we're directly impacted, and we got to clean it up. So essentially, I think it's not a large jump to include all those as well, because it's all part of the same thing. And what we have here is a gem sitting here on the river that I think development's moving this way. It ain't going south, it's coming north, and it's coming quick. So I appreciate your efforts, and I'm available if you
Cool.
guys need some help. Thanks.
Thank you. I think the only other thing I'd like to leave as a thought is that the restoration and resiliency effort that we put forward is based on, the approach is based on what the state of Florida recommends their communities and counties to undertake. So that's the part that will take a little bit more time to kind of share with you when we get the opportunity. But I think it'll be helpful, depending on how you see the city moving forward, because there's a lot of come along depending on how far we push this. And our thought originally was, with some of the work that we've done, we can probably get this done in half the time of what other communities are doing, because I think we're smaller. And if we can do that, that will be the roadmap that we can take forward. And if we have a discussion with Pasco County, Board of County Commissioners, if we have meetings with Governor DeSantis or members of the FDEP, we believe this roadmap is what will get us there and get us on the horizon. Or even in other things, we're talking about the congressional representatives and senators as well on the Fed side. This, we believe, is the roadmap that gets Port Richey where we think we want to be. So with that, I don't have anything else. Gentlemen? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor? Aye.
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 Very good. Thank you very